Welcome to the Pigskin Party Podcast, the only podcast that combines real NFL analysis with a splash of pop culture and a dash of the random. Let's get this Pigskin Party started with your hosts, Brian McFadden and Will Southard.
Welcome, everybody, to the PPP. My name is Brian. Thank you very much for listening. Please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're new, tell a friend, because that is how we grow this Pigskin Party. This Pigskin Party has grown, but in a different kind of way. So there actually is no Will tonight. Will had another one of his work trips. We tried to make it work. He's on some random highway on his way to another murdery hotel room. But fret not, because we have a stud coming off the bench, a rookie that we drafted who's ready to come in and start his first game. We have a new co-host for the Pigskin Party Podcast, Mr. Tommy Yu. What's up, dude?
Oh, man, I got the sound drops. I'm coming in when Will has to sub out. I'm just saying, put me in, coach. I promise I am going to... I'll surprise you, like the RG3 season, except I won't disappoint. I'm not going to tear my ACL in the playoff game.
Please no major leg injuries.
But that's not for me to decide. That's for the listeners to decide, but I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you, man. And, for those who have listened, Tommy has guested a few times already, and we just felt that... honestly, he needed to come on and call out Will with his Gio Bernard take, and that's really where it stemmed from. It's really just that simple. Will makes his Gio Bernard deep sleeper fantasy pick. Tommy disagrees. Tommy, congrats. Welcome to the show.
Yes. If that's all it took, I should have done that a long time ago on a lot of his other takes. But hey, I am here, so I'm just excited.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. We do have one guest. We had two guests. I do want to say one thing. We're going to have Nick Davis back, who is at Spoon of Zeke on Twitter. We've had him before, actually, with Tommy on. And unfortunately, due to a personal thing, he was not able to come on. Look forward to having him on again. Nick, if you're listening, hope everything's okay, and hope to have you on soon. But our guest for tonight is going to be Regina Wright, who is the host of the upcoming She Talks Football podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, a die-hard Baltimore Ravens fan. Regina, welcome to the PPP.
Thank you so much. Die-hard fanatic, that's who I am.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your idea for your podcast?
So basically, I love football. I love the Baltimore Ravens. And so why not have a podcast where I can talk about football and specifically my Baltimore Ravens. So it's just been a passion of mine for a few years. We have more and more women that are in the field and being out front, but, not as many as it should be. And literally, it's just something that I like to talk about. It's fun. Sometimes my family and friends, they would just get tired of talking about football with me. I've actually had my friends say, Regina, can we talk about something else other than football? And I'm like, why? Why would we not want to talk about football? So I'm glad to have this opportunity just to be able to share some thoughts that I have. I'm not a pro football analyst, and I don't have to be. That's the great thing about football.
Well, none of us are.
Yes, that's the great thing about podcasts. So I'm just going to be my normal, bubbly, energetic self and discuss everything that's going on in football, and I appreciate that. So please be looking out for that. Should be dropping this week. She Talks Football, wherever you listen to your podcast.
Awesome. Well, I can definitely promise you one thing. We will never ask you to stop talking about football here on the Pigskin Party Podcast. That is what we do.
Absolutely.
So, as you can probably guess, if you're a repeat listener, the fact that Regina is a Ravens fan means our team deep dive for this week is the Baltimore Ravens.
Woo!
So we're going to dive into that. Regina's very excited. We have had multiple women as guests on this podcast. We are big fans of propping women up. We had Sam Holt, who's a fantasy analyst, last week. We've had a number of women, and we will continue to get as many women as we can. So really, really excited to have you. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we dive deep on the Ravens, we're going to go over some news as usual. So the first thing I want to talk about is we had an episode last week where we focused on Julio. Talked about the news, him going on undisputed, and Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, and saying that he's definitely out of Atlanta. We did all the speculation. So I wanted to have a quick update discussion on that, and that's because there's been some reports that came out that there are multiple teams interested, and there are a couple frontrunners. So One of the reports said that there has been a future first offered for Julio. One thing to remember now that we're past June 1st, teams can actually offer as far out as 2024. So not just 2022 or 2023, but you can actually offer a 2024 first-round pick. So that it's possible that that's one of the ones that was offered. But the two teams that I have seen linked possibly as front-runners are the Titans and the Seahawks. Tommy, I'll start with you on this. What are your thoughts on the latest rumors about Julio?
So normally whenever there are rumors that kind of come up with players, oh, they might be traded or they're unhappy here, I'm kind of cynic. I'm like, are reporters just bored and they're trying to get the scoop? But this has gone so far to the point where you just can't ignore it anymore. Of course, that one segment came out with Shannon Sharp. Maybe he didn't know he was on the phone. Long story short, I have now the feeling of, okay, yeah, there's no way he's going back to Atlanta. And like you said, the front runners being Tennessee and Seahawks, I mean, if he goes to either of those teams, that's going to be pretty scary to think about. And I know the frontrunner kind of talking about the last episode, Tennessee kind of, that name keeps floating around. A.J. Brown trying to be like, hey, come over here, him working out with Derrick Henry. And I kind of did a little bit of foreshadowing.
A.J. Brown put it on TikTok, right?
Yeah, on TikTok.
Like
and it's a little bit of foreshadowing. But can you just imagine the pure amount of testosterone coming out of that Tennessee locker room? I feel like if I would just walk by that locker room, I would immediately just sprout hair from my chest because they have both Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and of course, if you're now trying to add this behemoth in Julio Jones, like, a lot of the times I sit back on my couch, eating my pizza, and I'm like, yeah, we're not the same species, but now they're getting like 3 aliens in a room together. Well, that's if, of course, he does end up going there. But even if you think of the Seahawks, I mean, DK Metcalf and Julio Jones, that's unbelievable. They're like 2 of the same species all of a sudden, and I'm sure Russell Wilson will be very happy at that point. And then he'll look over his side and be like, so you're telling me we're still gonna run the ball like 54% of the time when we have DK, Lockett, Julio? No way. But I'm very excited to see where this one goes because I definitely feel like something's going to happen, and everyone keeps saying, oh, just wait until, June comes around. That's when the first domino is going to fall and stuff. So I'm eagerly, as a football fan, as I'm sure Regina, we're like, hey, maybe. And, of course, you can't rule out Baltimore. Of course, I know that's not on the docket, but you can't ignore Baltimore either. So no matter where he goes, there's just going to be so many implications because they're immediately getting a future Hall of Famer.
So I'm actually going to mention Baltimore because they seem like they would be a good fit, but I haven't seen a ton of reports with them actually linking the Ravens to the Julio rumors. Is that, Regina, you think because they're not looking to make a trade of that caliber? I mean, everybody would say yes to Julio, but it's a matter of paying the price. Where do you think the Ravens would fall with regards to Julio Jones?
Honestly, I want to say it's hard to tell. As a fan, would I like Julio on my team? Of course I would like Julio on my team. Like, obviously, adding Julio to our wide receiver core that we have now, including Sammy Watkins, which we got over the offseason, along with Rashad Bateman. I know we're going to get into some things later, but I just think it would make our offense like, who's going to stop us, boo? Like, generally, if you're looking out on the field and you have Sammy out there, you have Julio out there, you have Marquise out there, you have Rashad, and we cannot forget about Mark Andrews, our tight end, who are you going to double team? Who are you going to go after? Like, to me, that automatically opens up our offense. And then add to that the fact that Lamar can run. So while you're out here in the backfield trying to figure out who you're going to double, we have our quarterback Lamar, who, if the defense shows him a hole, he can just take off running. So honestly, adding Julio would, I think, really, really open up our offense. I do believe our offense is going to get opened up this season, but he would be a good addition. I also like him as a veteran presence with the rest of the wide receiver core that we have, given that it's a very young wide receiving core other than, Sammy Watkins. So I think Julio coming in there as a veteran presence will bring additional competition, amongst the core. It'll bring some additional training. He'll be an additional target outside the numbers for Lamar. So it would be a great thing. But honestly, as a Ravens fan, I believe it is a very long shot that we would get Julio, so I didn't even set myself up for that. So it'll just be a pleasant surprise if something happened. But I heard that we have shown some interest, but I don't know if we're going hardcore like some of these other teams are. In terms of the Titans, Jeez, I'm on Clubhouse every day in my room. She talks football just about, and other rooms. And I mean, these Titan fans feel like it's all in the bag. Like they feel like Julio is definitely coming. And I'm just like, I mean, I can understand how it's a good fit, but if he doesn't come, I feel like Titan fans might be on suicide watch or something because they are absolutely convinced that he is definitely coming there. And it's just not enough information out there. I appreciate the fact that AJ and different ones are talking to him and communicating. Like, that's a good thing. But I think ultimately he's going to make the best decision for him. And, of course, it's going to come down to the money. Obviously, Julio's not going to get out there on every play. And I think actually the Titans need somebody who can always be out there opposite AJ. And who else is that at this particular time? And the first round pick piece, I'm glad you brought up the point about the fact that it could be 2023 and 2024. That kind of makes more sense to me now because I'm like, who's offering a first round pick for next year? I was as much as a great player as he is, but with the number of injuries that he's had, and the fact that he can't necessarily
he's 32
play, right, his age and all of that, I'm just like a first round pick. I'm not sure, maybe a second round, a third and a fourth, something. I'm not sure, but
I'm starting to see, like, somebody mentioned there was a future first, but it could have been a 2024 first, but I'm starting to see more realistic reports that it could end up being like a second and a fourth or something like that.
Absolutely.
Here's a quick fun fact. Sammy Watkins is only like 27.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like he's like 35. I feel like Sammy Watkins has been in the league for like 15 years, but no, he's only like 27. And I agree about the Titans. We had Tyler Rowland from the Locked On Titans podcast on last week, and he really got deep in a scenario of should they go for Julio, what they would pay compensation-wise. We had a whole discussion. I think he even mentioned that at least at that time, Vegas had Tennessee as the front runner to trade for Julio. So it certainly makes sense. Should Tennessee fans think it's in the bag? Probably not, because I've seen also reports that the Seahawks are actively negotiating with Atlanta to trade for him now. We'll have to see how that plays out. Let's talk about another possible trade / retire for Jeopardy / every week we feel like we have to bring him up scenario. And, of course, there's a little bit more Aaron Rodgers news. So this was last week, but Aaron Rodgers went on Kenny Mayne's final SportsCenter show, and he said the following, and I do want to quote this because I think it's important to actually give Rodgers words because he hasn't really done much speaking himself throughout this entire process. He's had surrogates go out there. We've had reports and anonymous sources. This was actually Rodgers saying what he thought, and his quote was, "With my situation, it's never been about the draft pick," referring to Jordan Love. "Picking Jordan, I love Jordan. He's a great kid, a lot of fun to work with, love my coaching staff, love my teammates, love my fan base in Green Bay. Incredible 16 years. It's just kind of about a philosophy and maybe forgetting that it is about the people that make the thing go. It's about character. It's about culture. It's about doing things the right way. A lot of this was put in motion last year, and the wrench was just kind of thrown into it when I won MVP and played the way I played last year." So, Tommy, there's one conspicuous, not included. They did not include it. He's got the fans. He's got the teammates. He's got the coaching staff. Who did he not mention in that?
Oh boy, so this is where the fun kind of begins. Kind of like what you mentioned. Rodgers did not speak a lot about this publicly when all this was going down and is still going down. When he finally kind of came out and said, "Hey, no, I love all this and that," there's a very big omission. It's kind of, and the way that he kind of leads his whole statement out, it's building up to that moment. Be like, oh yeah, he's saying he appreciates everyone. And of course, our favorite GM is not mentioned, nor the owner, nor just the organization. He's just saying, I love everyone that's a part of the organization, but do I love the organization itself? And it's almost like this philosophical issue. And one thing that I read that someone kind of made like a really good parallel was, just imagine you busting your butt for your company and you've been recognized as the greatest worker in this field and everyone's saying such great things, and then later your same employer goes out, hires some kid who has a very similar job responsibilities. I won't say job title, even though, they're both quarterbacks, but let's just say he has a similar job function, he's younger than you, he's a lot cheaper, and then one of your clients comes into your CEO saying, "Hey, this Aaron guy, he's the best worker I've ever had. The reason I actually came on with your company and, bought all your products is because of this guy. And now the employer's like, oh, crud. We're getting such great remarks from this Aaron guy, but we just hired this Jordan guy to eventually. So, like, if you put it in Aaron Rodgers' shoes, everyone is saying, oh, he's just so arrogant. He's so selfish. But I don't blame him at all. There's no such thing as job security. Aaron Rodgers is a future Hall of Famer, and everyone is already saying, is he already a top 3 talent of all times at the quarterback position? Like, that's not a polarizing thing to say. So even to think someone who just coming off of his MVP season, who definitely threw a wrench into things, because I'm sure the Packers were saying, oh, kind of like what we did with Brett Favre. We just got Aaron Rodgers, groomed him for a little bit, and threw him right in. Let's just do that with Jordan Love. And Aaron Rodgers just sitting there saying, hey, I am a human being. I'm trying to do the best thing for me. You already have plans to replace me, and I'm still playing out of my mind, and now you're trying to backtrack. So I understand his frustrations, and I feel like the way that he has come out and said his statements and how certain things are releasing, whether it is intentional or not, the cerebral mindset of Aaron Rodgers always comes through. It's almost, what didn't he say? Read between the lines. And I know reporters eat that up. So my big spiel is just kind of saying, I really feel for Aaron Rodgers, even though everyone's like, oh, boo-hoo, it's billionaires fighting with millionaires. But at the end of the day, it's someone's well-being. He's done football his whole life, and he's done nothing but give it his all for Green Bay. And Green Bay kind of always had their eye in their rearview mirror saying, okay, what if this is all over? How do we now replace him? And Rodgers saying, hey, look at the magic we're making now. Why not just keep trying to capitalize on this? So I definitely feel like there was a lot of shade, like you said, Brian, not mentioning a specific person. But once again, it shouldn't have been a surprise with anything he said. Nothing he actually said was not factual or unjust, if you will.
Yeah, he clearly left the whole front office off. And there's been reports about the riff is specifically with GM Brian Gutekunst. So there was a report that Matt Schneidman from The Athletic put out that said that Packers GM Brian Gutekunst, quote, will not trade Rodgers this summer. So we've done a lot of speculating. Every podcast, every analyst, everybody on Twitter that knows anything about football has been speculating about what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. Will he be traded? Will he retire? This is supposedly direct from Gutekunst saying he will not trade him this summer. Regina, do you put any stock in that, or do you think that, look, at this point, a deal needs to get done? Where do you think this ends up?
I do believe that they will not trade him. I think they are going to try to call his bluff, and that he would, if he does not want to play, that he would have to retire. And the interesting thing, fun fact, did you guys know that 16 years is the longest that any quarterback has played for Green Bay? So, and notice he said it's been an incredible 16 years. Brett Favre actually only played for, 16 seasons. I'm saying Brett Favre only played for 16 seasons. Starr played for 14 seasons. So it's almost like, it's like this, it's implied like cutoff time. And it's like, okay, it's time to roll.
Like
it's been 16
end.
Seasons. Yeah. So that, and he said this has kind of been in place since last season. So I believe that he may call his bluff and that he would have to retire. I do not think that they are going to trade him. I think it comes down to agency, and it's something that I speak a lot in my clubhouse room and just in general in conversations. I feel like the NFL players today, they want agency. They want to be able, they want to have more control over their fate within the league, where they go, what they do. And they want input, especially QBs. And I think that's something that we're definitely seeing. I think with Russell Wilson having issues with the office and with the coach, and why can't they get this man a O-line? I still don't understand. Deshaun, same thing prior to all this other stuff, being told that, hey, you're going to be a part of it, you're going to have some input. And then he finds out on Twitter just like the rest of us does. Aaron Rodgers, I think the NFL is kind of changing. Well, the NFL isn't changing. The players are changing. And I think that the players, especially the leaders of the team, which most of the time is the QB, I think they want some input. I don't think they're trying to run the entire thing, but I think that they want to be able to provide some feedback. They want that feedback to be heard and considered. And I think that this is kind of the thing that's going to come in the future. I think we're going to see a lot more players speaking out, making it known that they want to have some input. that they want those things to be considered, and all that type of stuff. I think it's just going to keep on going because I think the players are different nowadays than what they were before. Specifically for Aaron, I know everybody says he's going to play Jeopardy now. I'm a hardcore Jeopardy fan. I am. My whole entire family, we watch Jeopardy like all the time. I really don't see him being picked up as the permanent host of Jeopardy. Like that.
Did he not? Because I never watched Jeopardy. Was he not good?
He was okay. I want to say he wasn't bad. I'm not saying he was bad. He wasn't bad.
He was no Trebek, is what you're saying.
Right. Well, nobody's a Trebek. Yeah, nobody's a Trebek. Definitely. God rest his soul. But he just it was his voice for me. It was his voice, his cadence. It didn't do it. And I'm not comparing him to Trebek because nobody's ever going to be Trebek. But I really don't see him being as a permanent host. But I do know the passion that he has for Jeopardy, and I'm sure if he had the opportunity that he would. But honestly, I've gone back and forth on this issue. At first, I was like, he's going to play. He's going to be playing. This is just a bunch of drama. We had the pandemic. So much stuff has happened. They had to create these soap opera, stories to get us through the rest of the off season. And then I'm like, well, no, maybe he's not going to play. So at this point, because the owner doubled down on it, I don't think he's going to trade him. And if Aaron doesn't want to play, that he is going to have to retire. And that would be kind of sad. Green Bay Packer fans, I'm sure, would be devastated.
So this is the first qualified Jeopardy take we've had on this entire speculation. So thank you, Regina, because I'm going to speak for Tommy as well and say that we don't watch Jeopardy. I know I don't.
I'm very casual. Like if it's on, I'll put it on, but I'll never just be like, oh, it's Jeopardy time, which maybe I should. But no, Regina is definitely the resident expert when it comes to Jeopardy.
So
I remember it from White Men Can't Jump. That's basically the extent of my... and occasionally seeing headlines in the news. Clearly, we will be discussing this more. We've been discussing it for really months now. We were planning for the Flavor of the Week to do an Aaron Rodgers Destinations episode, just like we did with Deshaun Watson back around the Super Bowl time, where we each go around the horn and talk about different teams we think could make sense for him. We will be pushing that back, assuming he doesn't actually get traded between this week and next week, due to the fact that Will, our illustrious inappropriate co-host, is not able to be on today. So stay tuned. Everything we find out with Rodgers, we're going to keep talking. Everybody's talking. Even if he ends up staying in Green Bay, it's fascinating. It has made for a lot of good content and fascinating stuff for an NFL podcast to talk about.
Can I put my hot take in on that?
Please, hot take away.
I'm going to say Broncos or Raiders, I think. I don't think he's going to stay in the NFC. I don't think they would want to see him anywhere. So I'm thinking Broncos or Raiders.
I don't think that's that hot of a take. I think if there's betting out there around it, which I also saw something recently where sports bets have stopped taking bets on Aaron Rodgers. I saw that for DraftKings announced that, which I thought was strange. I don't know what that means. But I would say Denver's number one in that regard. And the Raiders, if John Gruden would give his children for Aaron Rodgers, so I would not surprise me either. So let's go ahead. We're actually going to start a new segment this week that I'd like to I'm sure we'll revisit a few times as minicamp and training camp comes out, but right now we're going to call it OTA Nuggets Fact or Fiction. So we'll obviously change the name for the minicamp and for actual camps when they start in July. But the idea behind this is there's always stuff that gets out there every single off season once the players start getting to practice and training about somebody's making their second year leap and somebody's in the best shape of their life and somebody's finally learning the playbook and whatever. Tropes, whatever you want to call it. So what I want to do is we're going to mention a few actual quotes that have come out there in the news, and we'll go around the horn, and I want to hear from you guys if you think they are fact or fiction or maybe even somewhere in between. So the first, Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence is, quote, really excited to play with Tim Tebow. Fact or fiction?
I think that's a fact. I mean, why
really?
not?
Okay.
I mean, first of all, Trevor probably watched Tim Tebow play, when he was younger, number one. Number two, I'm pretty sure he understands kind of the legend of Tim Tebow in that area, being from that area and playing in that area. I mean, his jersey is the number one selling jersey right now over Tom Brady. So And he's a tight end. Like that's a good cushion, especially for a rookie
Quote,
quarterback.
tight end.
He's a tight end.
He's technically registered as a tight end. Whether he can play is an entirely different discussion.
Well, we'll find out because he's definitely going to be on the 53. That's for sure.
You're convinced of that? You think? He's gonna make the team?
100%. I do not think he would have agreed to do any of this if he did not have a guarantee that he was going to make the 53. Honestly, why would he go through all of this? The relationship between him and
Urban Meyer.
I think he's definitely going to make the 53. That's why he got his jersey. They're already selling. They know it's going to be good for ticket sales. Like, I don't see him not making the 53. And so I can understand why Trevor, would be excited to play with Tim. I think in that area, he's definitely a legend. He's well known. He's a good teammate. He'd be a good, here's the thing that could be an issue is leadership. I think Tim Tebow would walk on the team automatically kind of being in that leadership role just because of who he was, while Trevor would be trying to establish himself as the leader. That would be the only thing. But, actually on football teams, you usually will have more than one. You might have a defensive leader and an offensive leader, or someone might not be as outspoken. I'm not sure about Trevor if he's super outspoken and everything. So I can believe that. I don't think it's anything weird that he may be excited to play with Tim Tebow. I think that may be fact.
Regina, I am very respectfully going to say that is straight fiction. That is like the most PR thing I've ever heard in my life. But hold on.
I think Regina got paid off by the Jacksonville
Let me
PR
add some context. Tebow took his last NFL snap when he was a New York Jet on December 30th, 2012. He was in middle school. Hold on. I feel like I'm not painting a picture good enough yet. Trevor Lawrence was 12 years old. Let me tell you what Trevor Lawrence was doing. He was probably trying to sneak into the movies to watch Ted or 21 Jump Street, because that was in the box office at that point. Or he's just jamming to the Billboard charts of 2012. And what does Billboard tell me? Someone I Used to Know by Godier. Remember that with that music video and the painting? Or Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. We Are Young by Fun. I want to transport you to this time, because when people say, oh, 2012, that wasn't that long. Yeah, it was. And Trevor Lawrence was just a wee boy. So when anyone asks you, are you interested to play? Insert any one of your teammates here. Of course he's going to say, oh, yeah, I'm excited. What is he supposed to say? No. But if you're telling me he's excited to play with Tim Tebow, well, Tim Tebow as a person, great. But as a tight end, when you have offensive weapons like Travis Etienne, James Robinson, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, but of course, the reporters are going to say, how about Tim Tebow? Oh, that really old dude I watched and sometimes played with on Madden, now playing a position that he has never really played before? Yeah, sure, I'm excited. It's not that he's not going to be good. It's not that he's not genuinely excited to have him in the locker room, but it's very... It's just clickbait, right? Like, of course he had to say I'm excited for it. So I feel like that's straight fiction. I feel like there are a lot of prop bets saying, oh, how many touchdowns do you think Tebow is going to get? But similar to like what Regina said, she's locking in saying he's going to make the 53, which very well could be true. You brought up a great point, Regina. Like, why would he do it if he was going to be embarrassed and be cut or something like that anyway? Which is a very good point. Maybe you could be a devil's advocate saying, well, what else is Tebow doing? Like, this is just his way to get in, get his name out there. Or maybe a team will finally be like, oh, okay, this team already took the meme side away. Maybe if he does get cut, maybe we will work him out now, kind of thing. So maybe Tebow saw a way to get back into the NFL. For me, I don't know if it's a straight lock because, hey, Shad Khan could just be, hey, we'll just get Tebow. We'll put our team name up there. We'll get all the jersey, all the money, and then we could just kind of do away with them after we make the cuts, which also could happen. But for me, it's very hard for me to believe that Trevor Lawrence go to sleep with a big smile on his face saying, oh, I got Tim Tebow. I got Weapon X playing tight end for my team. That's hard for me to believe.
Oh, Weapon X? Don't compare him to Wolverine. That's
I know. It felt dirty coming out of my mouth, but that I had to kind of self-deprecate myself to kind of get that point across. No one is excited to have Tim Tebow as a weapon.
I disagree.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna side with Tommy on this, and here's why. So first of all, Trevor Lawrence seems like he was cooked up in a quarterback factory. Like, give him the blonde hair, the blue eyes, the long flowing mane, the body. Literally, if there's a prototype quarterback, they're like, okay, let's enter it into a machine. Boom. Out comes Trevor Lawrence. So he's going to always say what he's supposed to say. So he was not going to say anything other than I'm excited to play with Tim Tebow. Is he like gunning for Tebow and angry? No, probably not. By all accounts, he's a pretty chill guy. But I don't think he's chomping at the bit to play with Tebow. As Tommy said, this is a guy who hasn't played in nearly a decade. This is a guy who has never even played the position that he's going to be playing at age 33. So, and has never been able to be a viable NFL player. Excited to play with him? Get some leadership. Maybe excited if he was your coach. Get those same leadership qualities, learn from him. But excited that a former quarterback who has very deep ties with your head coach and at any point could come up, they could script in a trick play where Tebow throws, which is going to happen.
Right.
100% is going to happen if
Right.
he makes the 53. He's going to try to throw some sort of touchdown pass. How could you be excited at that as a rookie quarterback? All right, let's keep on moving with OTA Nuggets Fact or Fiction. The next one, talking about the Aaron Rodgers situation. Packers running back Aaron Jones on quarterback Jordan Love. Quote, he's had a year under his belt. He's had time to watch and learn, so you can tell it's a little bit different from what it was before. Tommy, we'll start with you on this one.
Oh, man, let's have a fire sale because that is straight. This is like you're trying to sit on a fence, right? You don't want to be like,
Anthony,
yo,
feel free to throw in some like fact or fiction sound drops here.
I know, right? That is straight fiction because Aaron Jones is just like, all right, how can I say something about my teammate that isn't throwing him under the bus? Oh, I'll say, he was here for a full year and he's better than when I first saw him play? I mean, that's exactly what he said, essentially, without being like, oh, no, he's trash. Not that he would ever say that. And, of course, Jordan Love should have made
He is in year 2 of football.
Right? So, in my head, when I first saw this statement, I was like, way to go, Aaron Jones. I've never seen someone sit on a fence like you. Yeah, he's gotten better every day. Well, yeah. You could tell that the whole team's heart and soul goes through Aaron Rodgers, which is why during those OTA reports, everyone says, Rodgers always attends them. I know it's optional and blah, 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 but he always attends those. But not only him being absent, but like almost all the receivers weren't there. Of course, Aaron Jones was there and stuff like that. But the fact that he's saying this, it kind of shows me like, hey, I'm with you guys. I want Aaron back, but I'm not going to trash Love either. So this is like the nicest way to just be like, hey, I'm on both sides so I can win.
Regina, what do you think?
Yes, I 100% agree with that. That was fiction. He literally didn't say anything, and we literally haven't seen anything. Has anybody seen Jordan Love? Like, we haven't seen anything. Like,
he hasn't even dressed. He's never been. This is interesting. I was listening to a podcast a few weeks back, and they mentioned that, and this was a Packers guy who covers the Packers, Jordan Love has never been photographed in a Packers jersey.
Right.
Because he always had the red practice jersey on, and he didn't dress up for a single game last year. Oh, but he's had a year.
Right.
Yeah, he's had a year.
So it's okay.
He's better than when he first stepped on the practice field.
Yeah, so
He
that
throws
was
football
some good
good
thinking.
now.
That was some good thinking on Aaron Jones' part, and he hasn't seen anything. We haven't seen anything. Jordan Love is literally just a name on a roster. That's all I can say about that. So yeah, I'm with you guys. That's fiction.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, this is pretty much an obvious one. Once again, what else is he going to say? Rodgers isn't at camp. All the receivers aren't at camp. The reporters are going to ask him about Jordan Love, and what he's going to say, nah, man, he sucks. Where's A-Rod? It's not going to happen. All right. New Patriots wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, he came from the 49ers, on rookie quarterback Mac Jones. Quote, he has a swag to him that I didn't know that he had at first. Good energy, awesome guy, comes to work, and you just can feel his energy and leadership already. Regina, fact or fiction?
That is absolutely fact, dude. First of all, it said he has a swag to him. He absolutely said that. So, yeah, definitely. And I've actually seen that a few times. Yeah, I think that.
So just to reiterate, these are actual quotes.
Right.
They all said it.
Right.
But do they mean it?
No,
That's the fact or fiction.
I
Do they
believe
mean it?
he means it. I believe he means it because he talked about his swag. He talked about his energy, and his leadership, and those are things you definitely want to have about your rookie QB. I feel like it's Cameron's job to lose, But I think that if he doesn't perform in a few games, I think Mac will be in
By
there.
the way, can we always refer to Cam Newton as Cameron going forward? I love that. Cameron Newton.
Oh, I think I say that a lot. I say Cameron a lot. But yeah.
Oh, I love it. We're gonna say it going forward. He is now Cameron Newton.
Right.
That just
Right.
such a rolls off the tongue.
I keep hearing about, the guy's work ethic, the last to leave. If you think about he's used to the offense, because of what Saban, right? They say it's the same as what Belichick runs.
They're BFFs, Saban
right,
and Belichick.
exactly. And Belichick is
Unfortunately.
extremely methodical. He's extremely calculating. And so literally the things for me, if it's a good fit, and Belichick is going to have him out there. And so I think he is definitely making sure that this team is gelling with Mac already. And I'm pretty sure Cameron Newton knows that, he only has a few games. He has a very, very short leash before he's definitely going to throw Mac out there. So, this one definitely works right here.
Tommy.
100% buy. Well, first of all, I knew this man had swag when he had that one shirtless picture with Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa. He has his shirt off, has a cigar. He's rocking that dad bod. And I'm thinking back in my day when I was in college, I was so insecure, especially when you're standing next to two supreme athletes and you're like, I'm about to pop my shirt off, put on a cigar. I don't care what the world sees because I'm confident with who I am. I'm like, all right, Mac Jones. And I personally feel like when Mac Jones first went to New England, he had an uphill battle. McCorkle comes to New England. There's a beautiful Cameron Newton. He has more swag than I
McCorkle
can
and Cameron.
Ever...
What a quarterback room.
I know, right? Cameron is there with his awesome hats, his goofy suits, and he's got more swag than I could ever dream of having. And Kendrick Bourne looks at Cameron and he's like, yo, that guy's got swag. And then he looks over to McCorkle and he's like, hold up. This boy's got swag now too. So I could only imagine what he's doing because I feel like it would have been different. He's like, yeah, Mac Jones has good placement on the ball or he's got some zing. And you're like, all right, well, yeah, here's a quarter. Yeah, I've read this headline millions of times. But then saying, hey, this rookie quarterback, he's got some swag to him. Kind of makes you smile because I feel like when we were talking about the draft coverage of all the quarterbacks, the Trevor Lawrences, the Fields, the Lance, everyone got so excited. Everyone was like, then there's Mac Jones. I've always been a Mac Jones truther, but obviously now that I'm kind of establishing my persona, I just wanted to let people know I was a fan of Mac Jones before he got big, so I guess I could say I was hipster Mac Jones, but it's kind of fun now to kind of be like, all right, finally, now he's getting a little bit more street cred, so absolute buy.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a fact for me. And the original point I was going to make is there were reports from, I think it was actually Devontae Smith specifically, when they asked him about playing for Tua versus playing for Mac. And obviously Tua is my quarterback as a Dolphins fan. But there's some truth there that he preferred playing with Mac Jones. And that was before you mentioned Cameron Newton. So he is swag. No one epitomizes swag more than Cameron Newton. I'm just going to say, I love saying Cameron, so it's just going to. So the fact that you can be at that camp looking at Newton and no one has more swag than him and still think that Mac Jones has swag, he has to be showing something. Whether he's going to have the talent, that's still left to be determined. But at least from a swag factor, I'm going to agree with both of you. I think it's a fact. So let's move on to Anthony's beloved Detroit Lions, which he will be a former fan of after the Rams win the Super Bowl next year. So Lions coach Dan Campbell on quarterback Jared Goff, formerly of the Rams. Quote, I like his command in the huddle, and I would say he's progressing kind of right where you want him at this point. Oh, you're just going to automatically assume that that's a fact. Anthony gets in his fact before we even say anything. Tommy, fact or fiction?
Oh, Anthony, just know I'm saying this out of pure love and for comedic value. The way I like to imagine how Dan Campbell said this was like he was surprised. He was like, whoa, he actually knows how to be in the huddle, because the meme with Jared Goff is, oh, he just has, McVay in his ear the whole time. He doesn't have to do anything. He just goes in, he just kind of reiterates whatever McVay is saying. He's like, all right, let's go to the huddle and be like, all right, I know what's going on. So I'd like to think he was like, oh, he actually knows how to run a huddle. I genuinely didn't think he knew how to do this. So, hey, that's better than nothing. So, of course, I kid, but I would say I don't want to say it's fiction. I guess it's a fact. I feel like every quarterback that's playing at the NFL level should know how to command a huddle. So I almost took this as like, oh, is that the nicest thing you could have said about Goff? Of course I'm buying it because he's not saying anything outlandish. It would be different saying, oh, he's absorbing this offensive playbook faster than we thought. He's way ahead of Stafford was. He's unlocking a new dimension of this, offensive weapons that he has. Like, that would be one thing, but he's literally just like, oh yeah, he knows how to get in the huddle. So I feel like I have to buy, because as much as you want to pick on Jared Goff, he was still a first overall pick. So I think with my expectations as low as it can be, I hope that he can at least command a huddle. So, Anthony, I buy it.
Regina, fact or fiction for quarterback Jared Goff in Detroit?
I mean, I'm buying it, but he didn't really say anything. Like, literally, this is very similar to, he's had a year under his belt. He had time to watch and learn, so you can tell he's a little bit different. Like, it's not much more for Jared to be a veteran quarterback. He really didn't say anything too much. So, I mean, I'm buying it, but he really didn't say anything. Like, either he's trying to keep everything close to his chest and don't want to put too much out there with the upcoming season, or Jared is just looking meh, and that's all I can say. He might beat meh, but we'll see.
So I'm of the mind that the Lions have no expectation for Jared Goff to be the future, and they actually gained picks to get him. The Rams, granted the Rams got Stafford back, but they traded away multiple high picks in order to get Goff off of their team. So I think the Lions we'll take Goff and your picks, sure, but we'll find a spot on the roster and we'll see how it goes from there. I don't think that anybody in that organization thinks that Goff is the future. So maybe, Tommy, I'll give you this much. I do think that Dan Campbell was surprised. Wait, he can throw a football? This was a guy who was a number 1 overall pick at one point. He's going to have some physical talent. But as far as he's progressing, my reading between the lines on this is that, look, yes, technically he knows how to. He's been in an NFL. He's made it to the Super Bowl. He knows how to run a huddle. Whoop-de-doo. But he's progressing kind of where you want him at this point. Okay, he's throwing balls to people who are catching it. I mean, it's so. Like Regina, like you said, there's nothing here. He didn't say anything. What else is he going to say? I felt like if he was excited by Goff, you would have gotten more superlatives, like Kendrick Bourne was saying about Mac Jones, right? None of that. It's just, he can do the huddle, and he's kind of progressing. Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to say? So I am going to ultimately say fiction just because of my interpretation of that. Sorry, Anthony. But like we said, you're going to be a Rams fan anyway, so shouldn't be too sad. There's the thunderstorm for the Lions.
For
I like
sure.
That's going to be that sound is going to be the perfect sound for the Lions going forward. Okay, and finally, I'm not immune to these evaluations, so we are going to talk about my Dolphins. So Dolphins quarterback, this is a quote from Tua himself. So Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, quote, "I didn't actually know the playbook necessarily really, really good, and that's no one else's fault but my fault. Our play calls were simple when I was in. I didn't have alerts and checks, where now I feel comfortable and I can maneuver my way through these things." Regina, I'll throw it to you first.
Yes, so
Fact or fiction?
This is fact. I mean, he said, I didn't know the playbook necessarily. Really, really good. So no, this is fact. You could definitely see last year that definitely the plays were simple that they were running out there. I think dude lacked confidence because they kept putting him in, taking him out, putting him in, taking him out. Like, what do you expect him to do in a situation like that as a rookie QB? I do expect that he's going to be better this year. Apparently he did put the work in with learning. I mean, if you're the quarterback and you don't know the plays, where does that leave everybody else on the field? So I'm buying this for sure. I feel like it's only his second year. So you expect these quarterbacks to actually improve from year to year. And hopefully he'll have a lot more confidence with himself this season. And I really want to see what he does because it was definitely a lot of hoopla with him coming out and having an injury and still being able to make it. And I'm going to confess something. I do kind of slightly like the Dolphins. I do.
Oh,
so it's
okay.
This is far
Regina,
and away.
you just bought yourself another invitation on this podcast. Congratulations.
It's far and away now. Nobody comes anywhere near. Like, you can't even see my hand is down here, right? But in terms of other teams, I do have my eyes on the Dolphins. I think that, you guys were close last year. You were so close to getting in there. And I feel like with what you guys did in the off season, and I feel like with his learning the playbooks and mature. Justin Herbert, that's not the norm. Most QBs don't come out their first year doing that. So you can't really compare what other QBs do. I think about some of the struggles that, my man Lamar had and a whole bunch of other rookie QBs. So I think he may be okay. I think your boy may be okay. I'm excited for him, and I hope he does well. So I'm buying it.
Well, I appreciate that. Tommy, what are your thoughts? And you can be honest.
Okay, so you already know my stance on Tua Tagovailoa. I feel like he hasn't been getting a fair rap. Everyone's kind of swinging to the one side of the pendulum saying, oh, he can't do it. The film is terrible. He looks bad. He deserved all the benching. And I was not a fan of that. I was like, no, you can't do that to a rookie quarterback. And very similar things to what Regina said. You see these Herberts go out. How Joe Burrow first started out before he got hurt. That's not a normal, like Baker Mayfield throwing and breaking the record when he came in for just his select few amount of games when he was rookie. That's not a normal thing. Let's look at how Baker has been since then. That looked like a lightning in a bottle. He could bounce back again. I'm not writing Baker off. He had a great season last year. But things where I get comfortable with. But first of all, I do buy it. I do think his lack of retention of the playbook definitely impacted him, but there's a couple of red flags that jump off the page to me specifically. He specifically said he acknowledges that he didn't know the play call very well, but they were very simple. There were no checks, there were no alerts, so it was pretty much Flores being like, all right, he's a rookie, let's not overwhelm him. These are just your vanilla plays, just run it. And Tua then saying, okay, even admitted there's nothing else, it's just handed off. Throw it to this guy if he's open. If not, try to take a check down or whatever. But there weren't that many checks, admittedly, and he was still struggling to grasp that is what worries me. Because the type of quarterback Tua is, I feel like, even when he watched him when he walked in for Hurts during the national championship game, and that's where the Tua legend was kind of formed. He came in and won the game for Alabama and things like that. He seemed like someone who was able to perform very well off script, like an improvisational type of quarterback. And so maybe the Dolphins are doing him a disservice saying, hey, here are your vanilla plays. Don't do anything crazy. Just go do that. And to me, that's not a very Tua thing to do. It's like you're trying to put a cookie cutter mold around something that doesn't fit it just right kind of thing. And so I definitely buy the reason that he didn't know the playbook was part of the reason why he struggled, but a little part of me says, oh, now it's going to get a lot more complex. There's a lot more on your plate, and now there is no Fitzpatrick kind of breathing down your neck. Here are the keys, go drive, and it's supposed to get a little bit harder now. So maybe now with the confidence knowing that he kind of has all these great chemistry with his players, hopefully that he's been developing in the offseason, being able to instill this playbook, I have confidence, but I have drank that Kool-Aid before. When Cameron Newton last year put all these workout videos on YouTube, I was chugging that Kool-Aid. I was like, Cameron Newton is the greatest quarterback of all. He's going to win comeback play of the year. New England Patriots are going to show Tom Brady what's up. And then we saw what happened. And I feel
like
more
hype videos than touchdown passes.
Exactly.
COVID, though. COVID, gentlemen.
Oh, no, I definitely understand that.
True.
But then I'm also now seeing Tua Tagovailoa.
He wasn't lighting it up before he got COVID either, though,
Yeah,
to be fair.
I'm seeing the similar things. So Tua Tagovailoa is working out, looks great, developing all this chemistry against people. But at the same time, we have to be realistic. He's completing passes against air. He's not doing anything too crazy right now. So until I see it, I'll believe it. But I think at the concept of it, him being aware enough that his grasp on the playbook impacted him, I'm hoping that's a good sign and not a red flag. Being like, okay, now I definitely have to have this down before I can rely on my athletic ability. So I'm hoping because he even mentioned this and now people can criticize this however they want, this should at least be like, okay, Tua, you got to figure it out first and then go perform. So I definitely buy. And Brian, I am excited. I'm excited to see what Miami can do.
Me too. really for the first time. And I mean, I'm always excited, but this is true excitement for the first time in 2 decades. So I'm going to try to be as objective as I can here while fully admitting that I cannot completely remove my bias. So take that as you will. This is how I interpreted this. And there were rumors already and reports that they were not giving him the entire playbook. He talks about having play calls were simple. He didn't know the playbook necessarily. What I think he meant by that is he didn't know the playbook because they literally didn't give him the entire playbook. Chan Gailey ran about as vanilla as you could when he was in. It was super safe. Whether you could say they were protecting him for health reasons, whether you can say they were protecting him for confidence and not trying to throw too much at a rookie quarterback, whatever reason it was clear, and it didn't help. Most rookie quarterbacks are timid. They're getting used to the speed of the game. He's used to his receivers being like 5 yards of separation open every time. So whatever, kid gloves or not, it certainly didn't help. So my interpretation is that the reason he didn't know the playbook is they literally only gave him a portion of it. And the plays that they gave him were very simple. They weren't giving him checkdowns. They weren't letting him do anything. That's about as kid glove as you can treat a rookie quarterback, which I don't think is the right approach. You want to build their confidence. You want to have certain plays to build to get them in a rhythm in the game, but to completely just protect them like that serves no one any good. And everybody saw it the second Fitz came in, besides the fact that Fitz is just a gunslinger and YOLO and one of the most fun quarterbacks in the NFL to watch. They didn't hold him back from a play calling standpoint at all. They just said, okay, Fitz, just do Fitz magic-y things, you know? We don't even know if they called plays. Fitz is just going to, like, backyard football the thing, and that was what made it fun. So hopefully Chan Gailey is gone, quote-unquote retired. I think that was no coincidence. They now have dual offensive coordinators. We'll see how that goes. But I think one thing's for sure, they're clearly going to be opening up the playbook for him. They're going to hopefully get him more comfortable so that he can do some of those improv things that you mentioned, Tommy, and that was one of his strengths, was making moves outside of the pocket, very, very deadly accurate. That was one of his strengths coming out, is that he could put the ball where he needed it to be. Give him a chance to learn the playbook and give him a chance to go out and do what he does best. So I'm going to go fact on this to finish it up. All right, I really like this segment. As I mentioned, we'll definitely bring it back as mini camps and training camps come about. We will have plenty of more quotes to dissect and decide whether we think they're fact or fiction. But it is time for our weekly team deep dive. As I mentioned earlier, we are going deep on the Baltimore Ravens, and we've got Regina on here to do that. So, Regina, we're going to start with everyone who comes on to rep their teams. What are your thoughts overall, high level, on the 2020 season for Baltimore?
Okay, so I'm glad we made it to the
playoffs.
Yes, no. Yes, the playoffs. No, I was thinking the second level.
You looked very insightful. I didn't. Okay.
Right. No.
The divisional round.
Yes, yeah. The divisional. The other one kept coming to my mind. I was like, that's not it. So no, I'm glad we made it to the divisional round. We got further than we did previously, so that was improvement. We beat the Titans in the divisional round. That was glorious because we got that monkey off our back of losing to the Titans all the time. So that was huge. That was absolutely huge. And the stomp on the logo, yeah, that was great. That was just, fair play. So overall, the team did much better despite the fact that we had numerous players suffering from COVID. We had about 22 players, I believe, who were affected by COVID last year, which was, as far as I know, brought in by the strength and conditioning coach.
That's a thumbs down for those that are just listening.
Right? Yeah. Thumbs down. So, and some of our players were actually sick. Like Calais Campbell was ill, Lamar was ill. So we got pretty far. I was happy with that. I was not happy again with some of our offense. I feel like Roman is Romaning, and I need some changes. I need some changes in our offense. We heard it numerous times from Lamar and pressers that, the defense already knows what plays we're doing. And so there's a reason why the defense is easily, reading. It's not because all of them, were just that great. We were doing the same plays. So that's why they recognized it. So they progressed. I saw some things from Lamar. He started off, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he wasn't feeling well the first half of the season. I heard he had, lost a friend, had died and some other things, but it seemed like he didn't have that spark. And then he got sick with COVID. But then after he came back from that, it was like he was so happy to be on the field, and we saw the old Lamar again, and then he just burned from then on out. So I think overall we had a good
Let's
season.
transition there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Lamar Jackson? You've mentioned that you seem to like him. Do you think that he is the right quarterback? Do you think he's able to make that leap to become an even better passer, to lead the team past, to actually get into an AFC Championship game? What are your thoughts on Lamar Jackson?
100%. 100%. I think some of the criticism levied against him it's completely unfounded. If you go and watch, I've actually gone and watched film on Lamar actually from a kid on up, different things from elementary to high school to college and things like that. The dude is a passer. He is a quarterback who runs and passes. Obviously, our team is a run-heavy team. That has been successful for us, and we're still going to be a run-heavy team. But he is a passer. I think one of the issues is our wide receiver core has not always been the strongest. They've been inconsistent. Even times with Mark Andrews has had butterfingers, and that dude is great. But we've had several games where he's had butterfingers. So I think some of it has been confidence in the wide receivers. Obviously, he's thrown a few interceptions. He has. In fact, it was several games. It's like he started off every game with an interception, but we wound up winning in the end. So I thought that maybe that's a good sign. But he's accused of not being able to throw outside the numbers. And I've gone on YouTube and pulled up plays. He can throw outside the numbers. And typically it's to Marquise. And now we have Sammy, who would be another option. So I think he's just unjustly criticized for certain things that are just out of his control, like the play calling. I think that needs to improve. And I think as long as our wide receivers increase, I think you will see more from Lamar. But I think they're limiting him and saying that he can't do this, and it's not true. And the one good thing I like about him is he doesn't listen to the noise. He knows what he's capable of, and I love that about him.
So let's talk about those wide receivers. You seem pretty happy that they added Sammy Watkins, and sure, he has the talent and has shown flashes. He showed up in the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, but has never been a consistent performer, has had injury problems. They drafted Rashad Bateman in the first round, which a lot of analysts thought was definitely a first-round talent and one of the best wide receivers, the number 4 receiver after the big 3 that went. What are your thoughts on their wide receiver core at this point?
So I believe our core has improved already. I believe our passing offense has improved. First starting with, and I know it hasn't happened yet, it's like, how can you say that? But this is what I'm basing that on. Number one, bringing in Williams. Early in the offseason, he brought in Williams to work with the passing coordinating game. I think that was a reason for that. That he brought him in. This is the same guy who has worked with Devontae Adams, who has worked with Tyreek Hill. So it was a reason for bringing him in, because we're changing, and I think we're going to see definitely more in our passing game. That's really all we need, because we have defense, we have a great running game. If we become something like a 40-60 or 45-60 in terms of passing versus running, I think we're unstoppable. In terms of Rashad Bateman specifically, great find. I'm a huge fan of his already. I actually watched his YouTube episodes, got to find out a lot about him. I mean, every time I see clips from him, hands. I see hands. All the time I see hands grabbing the ball. And that's super exciting to me, because he has hands. And, good route running. Like, he's definitely a great addition to our wide receiver core. Sammy Watkins, yes. He's been injury prone, and believe you me, I've been praying with a sackcloth and ashes that he can remain healthy this season. I think if he can remain healthy, he just brings a good veteran presence, I think, because our wide receiver core is so young. It's so young. And so I think Sammy brings a good veteran presence there and will help to up the competition in the room. Tylen Wallace also. Heard good things about Tylen Wallace, coming on. Obviously, Marquise Brown. He struggled in the beginning, especially when he said, basically complained on Twitter he wasn't being used. And then Lamar started throwing the ball to him, and he wasn't catching the ball. I'm pretty sure that made him feel kind of silly inside. But then he finally got it all together. And, so that last quarter to almost half of the season, Marquise was balling out. And I'll never forget that catch to him when Lamar came back in that Browns game, which to me was the best game of the season. That Ravens-Browns game.
I'm gonna be Will for a second and say the doo-doo game.
Yeah, I don't know why people keep saying that. You saw pictures of the dude laying on the table and they were trying to work the cramps out. It's just amazing to me.
It's more fun to call it the poop game.
But whatever they want to call it, the dude came out there like Superman and on 4th and whatever and threw a touchdown to Marquise Brown. So Marquise really brought it on near the end of the season. So I was super proud of him. The only ones I don't know too much about because we haven't seen enough, in my opinion, obviously, are Duvernay and Prochet. So I haven't seen enough from them. Pretty much Prochet does special teams. I'm hoping we can see what's going to go on with him actually being out there. And then Boykins. I'm actually a fan of Boykins. I've said every year, I think Boykins can be our next Anquan Bolden. Like, I keep saying that, but I haven't seen it yet. But then again, I don't know that he's been targeted enough. Boykins is just like an enigma for me, and I can't quite figure him out. So I don't know if he's still going to be on the team, when the season starts, but I think he has the potential. I'm just not sure why it's not quite there yet. So maybe Sammy Watkins will have a positive effect on him. So our wide receiver core is young, but hopefully they will really feel competitive. They should have a chip on their shoulders because they have been dogged out in the media this offseason. And so I'm hoping they come in with a chip on their shoulders to just prove everybody wrong. And that you don't have to have all these big names, that they can get the job done. So I'm hopeful about our wide receiver core this season.
Well, Regina, why do you think they keep coming up short in the playoffs? I mean, they finished with the best record in the NFL 2 seasons ago.
Right.
Last season, they actually had the best point differential of any team in the NFL. Lamar won MVP a couple years ago. Like, this was a team that was steamrolling everybody. They get to the playoffs, and it's like all of a sudden everybody has their number. What are your thoughts on that?
Dude, that is just some pain. I was actually at that playoff game because it was here in Baltimore. We played the Titans and we lost. I was actually at that game. I was holding my breath.
That's a painful one to go to, yeah.
Yeah, I really thought that some kind of way we were going to turn that around. I just kept believing, but we didn't. And it was as if the Titans came in and it was like they were Goliath. I don't know why, but that was like the vibe to me. It was like looking at the sideline. It was as if everyone was at a loss and couldn't figure out what to do against the team. And meanwhile, the Titans was coming out, throwing out screen plays, all these trick plays. Henry was catching, touchdowns in the red zone and the edge zone. And it was like, what is going on? They kept boxing in Lamar, so he couldn't really run anywhere. Mark Andrews had butterfingers. Like, I remember this game like it was yesterday. Our wide receivers couldn't hold on to anything. I can't even explain that game, what happened, the reason why we lost that game after having the season going, 12-4, and just mulling through everybody and just getting knocked out pitifully. So I was like, okay, that's what it was for that game. Actually, this next season, last season, I'm actually not mad at it. For all of the issues that our team had last year, I'm not mad that we got that far. Granted, to get to the divisional game and literally not be able to score a touchdown, like we only scored a field goal, 3 points, like, okay, that was bad. It was really a defensive game, really, for a while. We were kind of holding the Bills too, but then eventually the Bills were the first one to be able to open something up. So it's like, Josh Allen, he's a great QB. So I think it's a combination of Again, I'm going to come back to play calling. I think it's a combination of play calling, doing the same thing over and over again, not being willing to make changes on the fly. Particularly, I think that's a big issue for us. And our team not doing more things with screenplays, trick plays, and like the stuff that people pull on us. Like the Titans did that to us. The Chiefs slammed us with that last season. I think it's things like that. I believe that we can get there. I believe we can get to the AFC Championship, if not to the Super Bowl, if our wide receiver core, our passing game improves. I think we can get there. But it'll be
so let's talk
interesting.
about the draft class as a whole. You've already mentioned a couple of the rookies.
Right.
How do you feel that they did in this year's draft?
Honestly, I feel like they drafted very well. Everybody said we were going to draft a wide receiver in the first round. I honestly didn't think we were. But EDC, Eric DeCosta, our GM, this was his second draft, and I don't have enough information on him. Ozzie, we know pretty much how Ozzie drafts because he's been doing it for years now. So we're familiar with him. EDC is still an enigma to us in that, we don't have his total MO yet. So I was like, nah, they're not going to do it. We're going to get defense. No, we did not get defense. We got a wide receiver. So overall, I thought that they did very well with the players. Cleveland, that big dude Cleveland, I love him. I love Cleveland. Tylen Wallace, Rashad. It seems to me like they're a special group of guys. It seems to me they are very, very hungry. They really want to be there. They want to put in the work. I watch the presses on our Baltimore Ravens website. And I don't know, these guys just seem to be very special. And it was just 7 of them. And we normally have way more draft picks than that. But we only had 7. But I really think those dudes are special. I think that they all may make the team. And I'm looking forward to some good. I feel like we did very well. We were graded very high. And I think we always do well. We're able to find that value. I don't think we reach like a lot of teams do. I don't think we reach, and I think EDC did a great job.
So let's wrap this up and put a bow on it. Regina, let's get some predictions for 2021. Where do you think the Ravens are going to do this season?
Yes, I'm predicting that we will go 12-5. I think it's going to be a hard 12-5. It's going to be a hard fought 12-5. It's not going to be easy to get that 12-5, but I think that we can do it, assuming we get our passing game going a little bit more. I think that we can definitely do 12-5. We were ranked as having the second hardest season upcoming, only behind
Strength
the Titans.
Schedule, yeah.
Yes, in the schedule, yes. Second hardest schedule, thank you. Only behind the Titans. And so it's going to be a hard fought 12-5. But I honestly think that we can do 12-5, get that passing game going. And if we get that passing game going, I think we can be Super Bowl bound. I know
okay, you heard it here.
Yeah.
Regina says the Ravens are going to make the Super Bowl.
We could be, just depending on that passing. If that passing is improved like I think it's going to be, I really think that we can get there. It'll be hard to get past because, we're going to have to see possibly the Titans and the playoff, the Bills. And so it will not be an easy road, but that's the road that we normally take to the Super Bowl is usually a hard road.
So, Regina, if your Ravens make the Super Bowl, we'll have you back on the show for the Super Bowl preview show that week. I want to thank you, Regina, for coming on. Make sure to check out her upcoming podcast, She Talks Football. You can also, you want to go ahead and plug your social media and Clubhouse and all that stuff?
Yes. So every Wednesday night, so tomorrow night, every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on Clubhouse, the name of the club is She Loves Football, and the name of the room is She Talks Football. We have fans from all the teams in there, and we're just talking about everything in the NFL. It's a great time. If you haven't downloaded the Clubhouse app, you definitely should. It's great to physically talk to people. And also,
Android users can get on there. Thank you, Regina, for telling me that.
Yes, absolutely. Finally, they got Android users on there. And then also, you can follow me on Twitter at She Talks Football, and on Instagram at She Talks Football _ And so, yes.
So, yeah, absolutely. Look out for Regina. Check out her upcoming show. And no Will this week, but you know what? It didn't matter because we've got a new co-host. Tommy Yu came and crushed it. Tommy, how you feeling after your first show?
Good job.
You know, I'm loving it, but my one pitch I want to throw in about the Ravens, Regina, you hit the nail on the head. I personally think the Ravens can go all the way to the Super Bowl. The only thing holding them back is Roman right now. I feel like he is on the hot seat if I've ever seen it. It's so frustrating for me. I have no skin in the game, but I love Lamar Jackson because he's on my dynasty football team, so I'm very invested in what Baltimore does. And nothing is more frustrating when I sit here. People are like, oh, they got 12 wins. It doesn't matter. I'm like, with the talent Lamar has, he could be doing he's doing no favors for Lamar. You see McVay, Shanahan doing all these motions to scheme people open.
Right.
Andy Reid.
Roman's like, we'll run it, and if we need to pass it, we'll just hope our wide receivers could get the separation. I'm just like, why? Like, you could scheme people open, buddy.
Right.
It's just so frustrating for me to see. So if it was the Ravens with, I'm not trying to be rude and say a competent offense. If they were with an offensive coordinator that could bring Lamar to his full potential, hot take, they went in a 17-game season, they win 14, 15 maybe? Who knows? But with Roman, it's almost like you have to handicap the entire Baltimore Ravens, and I'm really hoping I'm wrong here. I'm hoping that Roman is like, okay, maybe I was just playing it this way because we just didn't have the receivers to be able to run the offense I went to, so now he has no excuses. So, Regina, I'll be very happy if Baltimore does that well, so I'm very much hoping in the future you're back and we'll say, so Baltimore's in the Super Bowl, and you're right, Regina, let's talk about the breakdown. So, it's been a fantastic, fun show, and I'm just glad that I had Regina on here make me feel better about Lamar Jackson.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and wrap it up there. That's a nice high note for all you Ravens fans out there. Thanks again for listening. Please, as always, make sure to subscribe, tell your friends, and keep leaving us those 5-star reviews. We now have 3 hosts total. Tommy, Will when he's back from his murdery hotel rooms. So make sure to check us out on all the social media. We're on Twitter at official PP Pod. You can see this episode and other episodes and clips on YouTube. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can check out our Discord community with a link inside the episode description. For this flavor of the week, we'll drop it on Friday, and we're going to talk to Tommy and go a little bit deeper on Tommy Yu. So make sure to stick around for the flavor of the week, and we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Pigskin Party Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort. We'll catch you in the next Pigskin Party.